adventure, some bound in chains, through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high.
Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up a telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything. Politics, religion, socio-economic issues, any topical issue of the day. And you could interrupt us at any time and introduce your own subject matter. And we take calls. The number to call is 442-0175. We believe in Grenada we could solve problems. But we believe all people have to have confidence in themselves. They have to have confidence in our leaders. Yes, we could watch them like hawk, but we must have confidence. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
I need to face the new ball today of you.
That is good, man.
Yeah, I like to face the new ball. What I say, I believe, again, I wish the new government all the best. And what I'm saying is, I believe this government get a good foundation to work with. I believe the NNP laid down a very good foundation, and I believe the government have a very good foundation to tread on. I don't know if they see it that way. And some people have been saying that they want to see everything different. I don't believe that if something is good, you work with it. You don't have to be different. If you meet something.
Yes, caller? I think we cut off slightly, but I think basically the caller is saying that if things is good, you work with it. Yes, caller? If things good, you work with it. And yes, caller, go right ahead. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yeah, how you doing?
Great, man.
Yes, well, it with a heavy heart, I would like to Grenada to know that Grenada has a follow-up a man who was a civil, he was a thief.
You're breaking up badly, caller. Caller, you better.
Yeah, I would have to call you back.
Yes, please do. You're breaking up badly. Yes, the first caller was saying that he believed that government, and that's an important thing in government. Governments have to learn not to tear down good things. But what happens, normally we criticize and run down one another so much that when a government come in power, they practically force to destroy some things that good. Because when they're in opposition, they criticize it mercilessly. I've said before, this government, it is not necessary for this government to do it because all the members are new, practically new. So they don't have old wounds. They don't have old scars. They cannot say on the record that anybody has done them wrong. And they have used this newness to their advantage prior to winning. So I think, yes, the caller says they have a good start, a good environment, a good foundation, and irrespective of the shock of the economy, Grenada economy prior to COVID-19 was the envy of the OECS. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yes, my boy.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm saying it is with a heavy heart. I would like to let Grenada know that we have lost a stalwart, that of Mr. John Paul Fletcher. That is a man from Grenville, lives in Grenville, you know. He has been a prominent man in the lives of the Grenville people and Grenada as a whole. You understand, Mr. Fletcher was a civil engineer back in the day. He ran feeder roads. At one time, he used to run farm roads. He was a priest. He was an Anglican priest. He used to keep mass on Sundays in the Anglican church. And also, he was a politician. He ran against Yolande Bain a few years ago. You understand? We lost Mr. Fletcher last night, and it is very sad. I feel very sad because he was a good man to me. He's a man that saved my life on several occasions, you know. So I'd just like to extend my sympathy to the Fletcher family, Sister Brenda and the children and all those who had associated with Mr. Fletcher back in the day. Secondly, you with me, eh?
Go right ahead, brother.
Secondly, I would like to say something about what took place in Princess Alice yesterday or day before, I think. I believe if you go into the bank, anybody goes to the bank and the bank require that you have a mask, you're going to draw your own money, but you have to go in with a mask because that is the requirement of the bank. You understand? If you're going to Princess Alice Hospital and you're going up on the ward, you understand? A requirement of the hospital is that you go on the mask on the ward with a mask. You understand? A big man who's supposed to be a big intelligent man and a leader. I'm talking about the leader of the Tivoli drummers. You understand? He refused to put on a mask and just march up on the ward. You understand? Endangering the patients on the ward and endangering the nurses and the people who in the facility. You understand? I don't know if it's political power he is displaying, but I guess that much. He's not a member of the party. He's not a political man. He's not working in the government. So that may be party power. They have to stop that. Have a good day, my brother.
Yes, my brother. I don't think that not supposed to have anything to do with politics. If the hospital regulation is that irrespective of you don't have to wear masks, but once you go in medical facilities, they require you to have a mask. You have to have that mask. I think the security lapsed there. The security should throw him up. Simple and straightforward. If you go to the hospital, you're supposed to put on a mask. And if that is the requirement, the security should throw you out, irrespective of who you are. You know? So yes. And I think in Trinidad now, they free up the restrictions on COVID-19 restrictions, but they keep it for the hospital. You have to go in the hospital, you have to wear a mask. And private business could still insist that you wear masks. We also have an increase in the century. That word still miss me again. Yes, and it all boils down again to people have to prepare to maintain a high level of sanitation and make certain that children using... We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good day.
Yeah, my
I
brother.
want a question on why they halted the bushing program. Because around this time, it is most needed. So I would like to know why they halted. Because first, because probably never see around this time where people need a little funding for the children to school and all things. That has to go on. But I don't know the reason for halting it. I don't know if they want to transform it again too. I don't know.
I think
I'd like to get something on that.
I think halting it is expected because the present government, while in opposition, it seems that is one of the programs that got a lot of leaks. They was against it. So I'm not surprised if it is halted. I'm not surprised if you don't see that level of debushing again. Because the opposition always against the debushing program. They say it's a waste of money. They say they're not getting dollar value. They're not getting production. They say send the people in the bush into work in people's land. So that I'm not surprised. The National Democratic Congress always have serious issues with the debushing program. They say it's a ploy to get people to vote for you. They say it's not a good program. So I'm not surprised if they halt it and you don't ever see it again. I don't know what method they're going to use to maintain the bush by the road, to maintain the I don't know what method. Whether they're going to spray it, whether they're going to contract it out. Some people say plant callaloo by the roadside or plant vegetables or what. So I don't know. So caller, you should not be surprised that that program is halted. Yes? And we have our brothers and sisters coming up on Facebook, and most of them are informing us that we're there, and our listeners in SGU. SGU is a very important part of the economy of this country. When SGU in full swing, it contributes more than 20% of the GDP. That's a university that you had brimstone and fire when it was introduced in Grenada. You know? And sometimes we tend to criticize so much things that leaders bring with new ideas. I always like to have some new initiative, examine it, you know, so look at the positives before we destroy it and before we criticize it. I must say that I don't agree with the present government attitude towards the post-cabinet briefing. I think this is walking back. The Prime Minister said he believed in freedom of information. And I also believe, I'm not absolutely certain, that during the campaigning, he advocated creating legislation for freedom of information. We have come a long way with that. We reach a situation in Grenada that every time you have a cabinet meeting, there was a briefing 1 day or two after. Well, the main decisions that was taken or important decisions are provided for the media. And the media were able to ask questions even outside what was discussed in cabinet. That is a stage we reach in Grenada. We must not walk back. We must not walk back. That's a positive stage that we reach in Grenada. Remember, there was a time in the 70s when we had one radio station, Radio Grenada. The opposition then called it Radio Lionel. And after they say Radio Lionel lie like hell, they manufactured propaganda in the lab to dilute the significance of this one radio station. During the revolution, they had Radio Free Grenada. That name was the furthest from the truth. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hey, Mr. Pierre.
Welcome, caller.
Mr. Pierre, you just mentioned about the bushing, where the opposition at the time was saying that the people cleaning the road was a waste of money. And I remember shortly after Ivan, the government money was paid to the workers to go and clean people's land. And they killing the damn people land. And what happened? The people that land clean, some of them never put anything on the land that the people have money was paid for people to clean there. So that also could be a waste of money. Because if you tell people to go and clean people's land, and when they clean it, the owner of the land plant nothing there, and the bush go back in the land. I have to consider that as a waste of money. And Mr. Pay, I have a believer in respect. I know if you live in home, your wife and live in home, and you're working on the wife and going and that's where you're going, that's a mark of disrespect. Alright? That's a mark of respect. And I could see, as a leader, you live in the country, you suppose let the people know that you're going away. Because you don't have to put somebody in charge in charge of the in case something happens, you don't know who to call upon, who in charge. So I do believe, yes, that is something we look at, and you have to also take that into consideration. Most have somebody to lead. And information again, the cabinet briefing, that you get a lot of information from there. I saw on Facebook there were some journalists were saying when they call, they say that is put on hold, that there will be no more cabinet press briefing. And information is very important. I do believe everyone in the country need information. Information and getting correct information is knowledge and power. So, Mr. Pierre, I want to say to the government, information is important, and I don't say anything wrong if having a cabinet press briefing on Tuesday. And whenever a leader traveling, he's supposed to let the people know that the cabinet know that he's going away, or the people know that he's going away. So, Mr. Pierre, have a better say.
Yes, my brother, I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you on that. And as I say, during the revolution, after the revolution criticized and blast Eric Gary, they came and they had one radio station, Radio Free Grenada. Nothing about the radio station was free. And when individuals made attempt to challenge that, 3,000 Grenadians was put in prison, including Tillman Thomas. They was jailed because they disagreed with that. We moved to a stage where we liberalized the telecommunication network after it was sold to meet current expenditure under Mr. Blaise period. We liberalized the telecommunication network. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
Good program so far. Yeah. I had two things on my mind I was kind of concentrating on talking about. One of what you call confidentiality in the government and with organizations. There seems to be, there's a social network going on where there's a particular radio host going around on his program saying that he's getting information from inside the source. So in other words, people inside the ministries are sourcing this particular radio host information. And in turn, this guy is getting things on the radio about security firms and how much security guards are getting in terms of salaries. So that should be, in my view, confidential. Now, I'm asking the government, whoever is in charge, why you all have your staff members leaking information to an outside source and information at that level? Because what this guy is saying is that he was doing that in the time of the NNP and he's doing that in the time of NEP now. Now, to me, that is destabilizing the government in any form and fashion because what he's doing is not damaging NNP. He's saying that he can get information on the NEP and probably use it against them. And this guy has been known to be a member of the NNP already. So I'm just putting that warning out to the NEP. Pay attention to what is being said and people are propagating your agenda on their program. And if you all are funding this nonsense, you all need to look into yourselves and see what you are getting as value because it's not something good on the radio and you're not something good at all, attacking people's character and leaking information and information that should be kept private. This guy is going as far as to say that they all have this number and if they don't give him information or else and using this kind of language. Secondly, the appointment of senators with I see a statement from Ms. Kinder Maturin State from Karikou, where she humbly declined becoming a senator or wanted to be a senator, and it seems to be stirring up some pot. I mean, life in politics, at the end, politics is like a year. So if somebody decides not to be in frontline politics again, it's so be it. Everybody cannot be in the game forever. I mean, life goes on. PM Gonzalez intervention says he's not so long. He's running again. That is for all it is. Nobody's up on arms against that. That's his right. If you choose to do it, you choose to do it. And lastly, the parliament. I've been watching the inception of this government, this new administration for the last couple of weeks. And I'm trying to figure out what is the time frame. Mr. President, tell me what is the time frame for parliament to be open because I've been seeing some decisions being taken and to me, those decisions are supposed to be tabled in parliament and probably passed and so forth. So you tell me what you think about that. Thank you.
Yes, caller. A number of things that you touch on, there are a lot. So it's difficult to address all of them. In terms of Parliament opening, I think this government is green. First time in the history of Grenada for a very long time, you have all the members of the government extremely green. So I will give them about 3 months before complaint. They have to get their act together, and the things could be tied up and uncomfortable for them. So I'll give them about 3 months before complaint. I don't know if there is any exact amount of time. We have a call on the line. Call a punch.
What's up, Mr. Pierre?
Yes, my brother.
Mr. Pierre, on many occasions, I hear usually talks about the Morris Bishop administration that they put over 3,000 people down in Hopeville. Well, Mr. Pierre, could you tell me if the PRG government never do nothing good for the country? Because you all them on many occasions you all them talking about the 3,000 people that was down behind prison walls. So I'm asking you now if the PRG government never do nothing good for the country. Could you tell me, Mr. Pierre? Mr. Pierre, are you there?
Yes, I'll answer
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, thank you, caller.
Oh, no, I'm asking you a question, Mr. Pierre.
Caller, when you ask me a question like that, you have to you have to go and let me answer.
Excuse me?
When you ask a question like that, I may answer you, but not immediately.
Okay, Mr.
So
okay.
I'll cut you off and then continue to answer.
No, I'm not cutting me off. I still have some.
Caller. You asking, when you ask a question on the radio, we have a short time, and you want a reply to it, then you have to get a reply off there.
I understand. Well, so let's leave that there. Mr. Pierre, so let's leave that there. Let me get to my more important point.
And caller, I only had a discussion already. When you call, listen, hold on a while. We have a program for 1 hour.
Okay, Mr. Pierre.
We try to entertain as much callers. Always ask, always start with your most important point.
I understand what you are saying.
I always tell you that because you want to ask question, and I may take 5 minutes to answer your revolution.
I understand what you are saying, Mr. Pierre. Okay, next time I will try.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So,
yeah.
Mr. Pierre, what I'm saying, Mr. Pierre, 2011, Mr. Pierre, I had a brother that passed away. He was a patient at the Monge General Hospital, and he passed away in 2011. Mr. Pierre, up to now, the family are still confused because up to now, we don't get the autopsy report because they're saying that he died from lung cancer. And in 2011, I had a sister I was visiting from Toronto, and she went to the Monge Hospital. And when she reached there, they told her that her brother is sick and he need a blood
transfusion.
Yeah. So, well, you know what is that? That's when they remove all the blood from the
yes, a blood transfusion.
Yeah, and they put new blood. But Mr. Pett, that was affecting. So my sister didn't question that. She just go in her purse and she take out a checkbook and she write a check of $950, nearly $1,000, Mr. Pett. And the trick, because that wasn't true. And
caller. When you see, we have to be careful.
Yes,
you know,
Mr. Pett,
let me tell you something. A suffering from monetary instability, financially embarrassed.
Excuse me? I didn't hear what you said, Mr. Pierre.
When you hear we come on radio.
Okay, Mr. Pierre. I'm listening. I'm listening to you, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah, I thank you, caller.
Mr. Pierre, I don't finish what I'm saying, Mr. Pierre.
Yes.
I'm not complete what I'm saying.
Go ahead and see what you say.
So Mr. Pierre, what I'm saying, Mr. Pierre, up to this day, the family have been confused. How my brother died, because up to now, that was not true. What they tell us about this blood thing. And my sister didn't think twice because she know that is a very expensive thing because she lives out in North America. She know everything, it's very expensive. So she just write a check for $950, nearly $1,000, and they go on the cash the check. And my brother didn't need that. And my brother still died. Up to now, the family, I just spoke to my sister from North America, and she's still wondering, like, why my brother died.
Let me give you a caller. Before we go ahead with that, let me give you an advice.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, because we don't want to be saying things that they sue me that is financially embarrassed on the radio station. So go and make a report to the police. And since caller, listen to me, caller.
I'm listening to you.
Caller, you have to respect one another.
Yes, Mr. Pierre. Understand. Let's respect each other. So I'm listening to you.
When you have issues like that, go to the fact that she paid with a check, they would have the record. Go to the police and make a report and let the police start investigating your case. You hear my brother?
Understand what you're
And
saying.
when you do that, you have some concrete evidence because you paid with a check and you say they cashed the check.
Yeah, the check
So,
was cash.
right, so the records will be there. And let the police start investigating this matter before we start to be libelous to people and to an institution.
Understand
Thank
what
you.
you're saying. Understand. But Mr. Pierre,
Thank
what
you,
I'm
caller.
saying, I think
Caller, we spend too much time with you. Thank you. I always encourage callers. We have a short program. Make your important point first. And if you want to ask me a question, particularly questions that is not yes or no, then you might have to ask the question and for me to answer you off air. This program gives you an opportunity to rebut so you can call back. So we have to be reasonable. We don't like much rules. We want to respect one another. We want to be reasonable. We don't want people calling and saying libelous things about institution that they can't back up. Because if you say the people receive a check, then you have no problem. Go to the police station. The police will be able to investigate and find out, even if they don't get a receipt, but check is also considered as a receipt. And that will be a basis for police investigation. And if it's 2011, now we're in 2022, go to the police with that issue. Yeah? And on the issue of the on the issue of government changing the format with the post-cabinet briefing, I think the government has taken a wrong decision. I think it's a bad decision. You have a new government coming. Parliament don't even start yet. And the government decide information would be given on a need-to-know basis only. Who determine what the public needs to know? Is it the government? Is it the prime minister? Or is it the public? Now the same thing happened in the revolution. The revolution had one radio station. And anybody that challenged them, they jailed them. Maurice Bishop said, no, they say. Now in Grenada political context, we must reference. We have Erigeri period, which was relatively tumultuous. We also had the revolutionary period, which was tumultuous. And then the other leaders, they was not so controversial. You had the longest period of stability in Grenada, political stability between Erigeri and Kit Mitchell. These are the two leaders that was able to maintain political stability and confidence of the people for the longest while. In fact, only Gary and Dr. Kit Mitchell was able to win election on more than one occasion. Only these two leaders. The only leaders who did not lose their seat in the history of politics in Grenada is Mr. Blaze and Kit Mitchell. So we must reference these people. Now, Kindra Maturin Stewart has publicly decided she is going to withdraw herself as a member of the upper house. She don't want to be. I believe maybe the party been strongly encouraging her to do so. And there are some wise heads there. Because Kindra Maturin Stewart showed great potential to be a good politician. And with time, I even thought that she had the potential to lead the political party. But that sister went through a good bit of battle. She's a married woman. She had a child during that 5 years. A witness ill health, domestic challenge. and she had and social media and the politics and the oppositions was brutal on her. And obviously, the sister decided, maybe no more frontline politics for me. Because that perhaps is what she's saying. I will help my party, but I can't make it anymore in frontline politics. I have my children to consider. George Brizan back out of the politics. They begged Mr. Buffett, they begged him to be part of the interim government. Buffett said he would not lead it unless, I believe, it was Alistair McIntyre, because Alistair McIntyre was called to lead the interim government. Buffett said the only how he join in this team is if Alistair McIntyre coming to lead. Alistair McIntyre promised to lead, then he back out. And I was suspicious when he promised, because I know because of some issues and some things, I don't think he could have worked with the Americans. Buffett was practically encouraged strongly to lead the interim. He said 1 year. The trade union begged Buffett, let's make a 3-year agreement to ease up the new government that coming. Buffett said no, 1 year. And after Mr. Blaze come, they begged Buffett to come back and join NDC. I think the straw that broke the camel back was the article on the newspaper, Get Me to the Church on Time. This was the final article some political rum shop people. You know, you have some rum shop politician. Some rum shop politician believe that the article that ring Mr. Buffett hand, the one that broke the camel back, the one that forced him to come back in the politics, was the article on the newspaper, Get Me to the Church on Time. Look at Bola. In the prime of Bola's life, Bola decided to back out of politics. Don't believe a lot of encouragement didn't come to Bola to stay in the politics. Bola went out. Clarice Charles, I think she made 2 terms. She said no more politics for her. You know, a number of encouragement to keep them there. So there is a lot of individuals in Grenada who people have to force. Not force might not be the right word. Strongly encourage to stay in the politics. This politics is easy, you know. That's why I have such great respect for people like Eric Gary, Dr. Kit Mitchell, Ralph Gonzalez. You don't have to agree with them. But these men are examples. And if you want to go in politics, you better study these men. Eric Matthew Gary, Dr. Kit Mitchell, and Ralph Gonzalez in Grenada, in St. Vincent. These men have stood the test of time. People fired all plugs on Dr. Kit Mitchell. And he, irrespective of what, he continued to maintain dialogue with some of his strongest opponents. And that is why it was so easy and difficult for some people to understand when Kit Mitchell became friends with some of his opponents. It's a question of respect for people. You disagree with people on issues, but you respect them. It is a very bad thing when a political group decide to harbor agents of hate among them. These groups always end up in trouble because they are propelled not by respectfully disagreeing, but by hate. They want the pound of flesh. They want justice. They want vengeance. And whenever they win, they pick up the list and they search in somebody blood must shed. The worst thing to do is to harbor individuals or agents of hate and make them part of your nucleus. They would lead you astray. I would plead with Dick Mitchell. And I would plead with this new NDC group. Go and study Rwanda. Radio programs in Rwanda inspired quite a lot of hate. Quite a lot of hate. And in Grenada here, you have personalities on the radio that all they propagate is hate. They might serve you well now, but later on, they're going to continue to turn on your own self. Because that's all they've been preaching for years. So they're going to cannibalize. And it's an important thing. I have to disagree with Deacon in stating that the cabinet, post-cabinet briefing would be on a need-to-know basis. There are so much issues today. One of them is that we have a practically collapsed foreign affairs. When the Minister of Foreign Affairs say common decency would dictate that all who in foreign affairs resign, this is so insulting. And if all of them do resign, it means you have a void. And it's going to take you some time, maybe about 6 months. Even if you're acting expeditiously, it would take you about 6 months to get these things under control. You have MNIB that you take a decision to sell. You say you're going to end it. So it means any board you have there, in their mind, they would not be thinkers. They would see themselves as supervising the demise. You're there to transform, not to sell out. And if you sell MNIB, the workers and the employers in Mount Jewel Estate, they might be worried that you're going to sell the estate too. What's about Granba? What's about Spring? What happened to the electricity company? And then what happened to Nawasa? When you end up on this selling trajectory, you no longer thinkers. You're using the cheapest method in front of you. It means that you lack confidence in all these 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people you claim. Within 5 days, that's sending a resume that apply to you to help you on these boards and foreign affairs. It means that you don't have confidence in them. These things are not hard to manage. It's a question of improving our productivity in Grenada and our middle managers. So I think it's extremely unfortunate. You have a situation where you have a transition team, not advisors, transition team. So you have a minister and you have a transition team. If you have periodic post-cabinet briefing, rumors is going to run wild. And people will be justified in claiming that you have 2 cabinets. And you're afraid when you come out in the first cabinet, they have to report to the second cabinet. You open up yourself for unnecessary challenges while information is provided to those who propagate hate. On social media, you still have the NDC social media warriors propagating what I call very objectionable expressions. You have to remember that we are all Grenadians. And the olive branch have to be extended so that programs and organizations in the community would work smoothly. And I always use the example. If you go to Ticolor and you say you don't want On Target and his family in your group, all group will make in Ticolor boss. All group fail. Because everybody in Ticolor is one people. Everybody in Ticolor is one people. But it doesn't mean some don't carry green and some carry yellow. And it takes the government to take the initiative and extend the olive branch. That is where Kit Mitchell and Eric Gary was the two little masters in Grenada. Because it doesn't matter how strong you oppose them, they was always willing to extend the olive branch to you and have dialogue with you. When Eric Gary bring in Wellington Friday, after he won the election by 1 vote against Winston White, Wellington Friday joined Gary. And that was the beginning and the end at GNP. Because irrespective of the heated opposition against one another, they always express it's nothing personal. We're just on opposing side. Ralph Gonzalez will tell you that James Mitchell called him in the office and offered him to join him. Ralph Gonzalez had to say, no, I can't join you. And he always remember how James Mitchell was welcoming and courteous, and then they go after one another again. We have to turn down the viciousness, the bitterness, the anger, the hate in this politics here. And the government have to start the initiative. The olive branch always have to be extended to the sides that lose. And particularly from day one, Kit Mitchell already extend to you, congratulate you, and says whatever went on, it's not personal. He's trying to teach you. If we go down that road, you will be affected most. It's difficult to understand. When individuals have been propagating hate for 10 years, it's difficult for them. Sometimes they want to change, but it's difficult for them to change. So they're going to turn on your own members. You know? And I think this issue of the post-cabinet briefing, our journalists should object against it. I noticed some journalists trying to defend it. Just now, Caribbean journalists going to laugh at some of the czars. Because we have journalists in Grenada who consider themselves as political czars. They are journalists, but for politicians. But they still want to maintain the objectivity in the Caribbean. That these actions would dilute the significance. A very high standard has been set by the NNP in terms of the interaction with the media. Every week, post-cabinet briefing. During the COVID-19, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Social Affairs, the Minister of Tourism, they made themselves accessible to the media. And they wasn't ducking questions. You could see they was answering to the best of their ability. I thought Mr. Steele and Emmeline Pierre and Miss Modeste and the Prime Minister felt very comfortable. We must not move back. Deacon must return back to post-cabinet briefing. You are insulting the intelligence of Grenadians and the journalists in particular. When you say the briefing will be held based upon need to know, who determines that? Is it the deacon? Is it the ministers? Or is it the transition team? Who in Grenada determines who needs to know? Or is it the public that would ask questions? You know, this one I think is unacceptable. I think the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, and the NDC should seriously reconsider that action. It is not in your interest It is not in your interest to abandon the post-cabinet briefing every week. How could you say what you're going and sit down and discuss is not important? And you will only tell the public if you believe they need to know. It's too early in this game for you to start to hide information. I don't agree with you. But again, I only provoke discussion. And let me take a few readings from Facebook. Antonia Peters, in my honest opinion, is the NDC really surprised they won. Cynthia Matthew, they have to complete with the cleanup of the ministry in Carriacou, so they take the joy to terminate and transfer. We eyes open and looking on. Too much hate in this 13 square miles. Clevan Depradine, first let me admonish the opposition for the recent debacle in appointing a senator who, after doing so, submitted a declaration. Secondly, the submission of the weekly press briefing. The press briefing serves as a mirror of transparency, testing and trials to enhance growth. Yes, I think this was some reports from Facebook, and the number to call is 442-0175, so you could call and make your contribution. Is a serious development that must not be taken lightly. Never again in Grenada history, government must do anything to thwart the opportunity for information. Yes, caller, welcome.
There's two issues you raised today. The matter of Kindra Maturin Stewart, after she was announced being a senator, have decided not to. Something has to have gone wrong, because the leader of the opposition should have had discussed those matters before. Get approval, and then you make the announcement. So it certainly doesn't seem right what has happened there. And he obviously made the NNP and the leader of the opposition seems foolish, in the eyes of the people.
Kenny, I have to agree with you on that. They did not manage it properly. You think they was trying to strongly encouraging Kindra to stay?
You don't encourage people by announcing them. Okay. You encourage them by what you do.
By the dialogue.
And when you get agreement, full agreement, then you make the announcement. I think it's the usual Dr. Mitchell style. I want you to do this, that's it, and I name you. Now, when he was Prime Minister, it was a completely different matter. People were going into government. Now it's a matter of going into opposition, which does not have a lot to benefit those people. And so he has to change his style. If the problem is his, he has to fix that, because he must never let these things happen.
I think this one was badly managed.
Badly managed.
Maybe I personally thought that Kindra had a good opportunity to survive in the politics and even leadership quality. Maybe the whole session of this campaign and etc. and domestic problems and must have affected her more than they realize.
No, but all that should have been discussed before.
Yeah, they should have dialogue with her. Even the other female ministers should have been in, because she is one of the juniors. She and Kate are the two juniors there.
And then again, the NNP named two people from Carriacou and one unknown from Grenada. You have the opportunity to name three senators. You should say one from Carriacou, and one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast.
I don't necessarily agree with that position, Kenny. I find we're segmenting the parish too much. So I don't care whether the three come out from Carriacou or three from St. Andrews, because we continue to segment the parish. Cox Even if he's from Carrick, he's functioning in running grants.
Maybe. Maybe
So,
not.
because I think constantly we
Maybe
segment in the parish.
I
I,
just pop will be around.
I don't
Just
know.
pop will be running in the south. You don't know. Anyways, that's their decision.
Yeah, but yeah, welcome. Yeah, I
The
welcome
other thing
you.
is that the weekly cabinet session is very important. I remember we introduced that in 2013 after the win of the NNP one-day election. We made that decision about the weekly cabinet meeting on Tuesday to bring certain issues to the public. You know, in the U.S., you have daily briefings.
Yeah.
In Grenada, you have a weekly briefing, which is a good thing. You bring issues many times and you make decisions and people don't even know. So by coming there on a Tuesday or weekly, you bring the issue to the public. They would ask questions, and people will get to know what you were doing. I remember in days of Mr. Blaze, he used to have a 5-minute talk every Friday night. Even if people disagreed with him, but people anxiously waited
Yeah.
to hear Prime Minister Blaze on a Friday night and what he had to say. And so bringing issues, decisions to the people is extremely important. But again, you have to have the message, and the messenger has to be right. Because if the messenger is not right, the message can get lost.
Yes, I'm fully in support of that. And I was trying to go back to, I didn't remember when it started, but I thought that that was one of the best things the government do.
Yeah, they never had that before.
Yeah.
That was introduced in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, my brother.
Yes, all right.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a decision I believe that the NDC have to reconsider. You will be walking back. You will open up yourself for excessive rumor mongering. People going to believe you're afraid to provide information. They're going to believe that you have two cabinets, so you're afraid to come to them. You can't do that. I think the NDC have to retract from that and come back with a weekly briefing after cabinet. If you have nothing substantial to discuss, then don't waste time having a weekly cabinet meeting. Have it every fortnight. But once you have cabinet meeting, you have something to tell us. Because that's when decisions are made. And in this prior time, there are so much decisions to be made. There are so much decisions pending. Parliament may be open within the next 3 months. You have to name a number of people for foreign affairs. What's about the different boards? What is the position on marketing board? I do not believe you should sell marketing board. I believe we could solve the problem with marketing board. The Ministry of Finance have improved their productivity tremendously over the years. One must applaud them. Also, the police has been doing exceptionally well in Grenada with security. Irrespective of all the tensions and conflict they had with Job. You didn't hear anybody crying out police brutality. So I believe the police in Grenada have been doing a fantastic job. Government pharmacists, not all pharmacists, government pharmacists. Sometimes you hardly hear about them. People pay them no mind. So if we can improve the service in the Ministry of Finance, if we can raise the bar in the police, the problems that affect marketing board is not different from the problems that affect agriculture, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Education. It's low productivity and poor middle managers. And we could solve that problem. So there is absolutely no need to sell marketing board or dispense with it or end it as you see. Absolutely no need. People going to ask, what you going to do with government estates? You go end your relationship with them too? No. So I believe you have to take a second look at that. And I think it is of paramount importance to continue with a weekly cabinet briefing. You are not the one to determine what Grenadians need to know. Otherwise, you fall straight in Maurice Bishop grouping. And I say that because you evoke his spirit. You evoke his spirit. So I do not agree with you that. And the government have to be mindful that it is not necessary to propagate hate. Leave the prince of hate alone. Otherwise, hate is going to consume you. And you're going to start to destroy yourself. Because there will be members among you that will be extremely concerned about propagating hate in a small community. It is not necessary to continue to exact judgment. You are a brand new NNP team, NDC team, you're brand new, and you're relatively middle-aged, so you have the next 15, 20 years before you consider yourself old. But I think if you embed yourself with the prince of hate, it's going to spread. Negatives does spread like wildfire, and eventually it would consume you. You just have to pay attention to some of your social media warriors. They are only preaching hate and looking for blood. And we come to the end of our program, and we're very happy to have our contribution on Facebook. I see my brother just joined, and he asked, what's your problem? Bonadi Canabie, you know. So, again, we're back with you again next week. During that period of time, we speak about anything, and you can make your contribution, and we will always try to read your posts, and you don't have to agree with us. Even if you disagree with us, we will read your posts on Facebook. We always entertain you. We encourage people who want to ask questions. Maybe ask it. But if you make long statements and you want me to back and front, we try to avoid that. So we're back with you again. Thank you very much.
Celebrating song. Oh, Caracom, though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love, we dance and we play. We relate to each other, the rest in way. Today as a people united as one, determined and steadfast we stand. We look to a brand new horizon, the future.